If you're an Arizona homeowner looking to lower your electric bill, then
Grammarly can help you write quickly and...
Oh, for crying out loud.
Grammarly...
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
All right, welcome to our Daily Gun Show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight, and we talk about guns. According to this, it's just me here, but I see DJ made a comment a while ago, so I don't know how many people are going to show up tonight. All right, well, so I don't have anything set up because there wasn't really much out there today, so we will see what happens tonight. This isn't a scripted show. This is episode 1267, and my ribs hurt, so I got no interest in just hanging out. Oh, okay. Well, we got people out there. I'll throw a link out there. I usually try to lately have stuff in the description to talk about, but like I say, there was really only a couple of videos happened today. I didn't put any in there, so there's nothing to chat about. And that means I don't have my normal time buffer. I'm working on some things that are off the computer here, so we'll see if anybody jumps in tonight. If they do, we'll chat for a bit. If they don't, it'll be a short show. There's Clover jumping in. Good evening. Did you say you were having snow in Texas today?
No.
Okay.
We had what, a week ago?
I've really been using the Instagram all day. I noticed a couple other people. We had snow, and it's unusual, so I went on the Instagram, and I was seeing that pretty much everybody I know everybody I follow on the west side of the country had snow. So I was like, oh, there must be some sort of snowstorm.
According to Instagram 2 weeks ago, and measure it. I don't know how you measure snow because we don't get it very often, right? It's probably been 10 years since it snowed like that here. But measure it like off of a table or the hood of your car. It was like 4 to 6 inches.
Yeah, I think you got to use some sort of standard blah, 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 which is like some size hole or something that it has to fall into or something, because then that helps determine, like it stops the concept of drifting or snow blowing around or whatever. But who cares, because nobody ever does that. That's only weather stations and stuff that do that. So yeah, most people just look at how much piled up. It's mainly how much you got to deal with that matters, right?
Well, it was a lot. Like I said, for here, it was a lot. And yeah, that was my Glock 42 got left out on a table on the range. I don't know if you'd heard that story. And so it snowed all day. And the next day, I go out there to shoot some videos and do some stuff, and I had to clean my table off, right? And I realized that, oh crap, my Glock 42 is underneath 6 inches of snow.
I didn't do nothing to it.
Well, it didn't hurt it one bit. Matter of fact, I knocked the snow off of it, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna, because I carry that, right? I'm like, well, I'm not gonna. Obviously, I'm not gonna carry the ammo. I'll swap that ammo out. I'm like, I wonder, and pointed it down range, pop, 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 pop. All of it fired. All of it hit steel. No problems.
Yeah, the only thing I'd worry about is if somehow something floated into the barrel, if there was some sort of puddle of water it was in. But otherwise, yeah, it's probably a good idea. Just shoot it out. There's no point in carrying around the ammo. So our snow is we've had snow before. Today it was happened to be cold enough. When does it get cold? Like at 2 a.m. or whatever, or 6 a.m. Like whatever the coldest part of the day is. Whenever it starts to get warm again, there's some time of night when it's actually the coldest.
Right.
And it just happened to be raining at that time. So I don't know. By 6 o'clock, I went out there. There was I guess it's technically snow. It's white and it's accumulating, but you walk in it and then your footprint goes all the way to the ground, and it's just the heat of your footprint, goes away. So it's really just like the slush waiting to happen kind of snow. So anyway, by 9 a.m. it was gone. But it's the worst stuff for me here. I don't like it because it just gets everything sopping wet.
Yeah.
I'm not used to it. I don't like it. Normally when it rains here, everything rains, and the rain just is water, so it blows right off of everything, runs right off of everything. And then it's dry, so it gets hot and everything dries out right away.
Sure.
But this stuff, it's not dry. It's everything's wet, and there's clouds, so the sun never comes out and dries everything up. So I'm just complaining, but it's just the whatever.
No,
anyway, so besides that, it's just a little bit colder than normal. But otherwise, did you watch Walt's video today?
I did not watch Walt's video today. No, I watched his and put a big long comment on it, on his one about the 3 things he doesn't like about gun culture or something like that.
Yeah, okay. We'll talk about that one.
I know you had I know you'd brought that one up before, but I hadn't watched it until today. I'm always behind, and I can say I didn't agree with a darn thing on his list. I don't understand these young bucks, and I'm gonna call him a young buck. I don't know how old he is, but I don't understand these young bucks and their frame of reference on things or whatever.
What was the one you're talking about?
He said the beer, and going shooting, and gun bunnies, and the what did he say? Not the fascination, but maybe it was,
guns in movie. Yeah,
infatuations with guns, or something along that lines. And so I don't remember my entire response, but the first response was, I pretty much come out of the womb holding a gun, and I've been to everywhere, from deer camps to competitions with hundreds, if not thousands, of people. And I've never once heard, let's drink some beers and go shooting. I've never once heard anything like that. The worst case, and I think we talked about it maybe, was, having a beer at the deer camp after everybody gets back in the afternoon, or we go to the range, and after we're done at the range, we go out for some drinks or something.
So I think that
would be shunned. That type of talk would be shunned by anybody and everybody I've ever been around. So I don't see where it's a thing.
I would have got hit by some people. They would have hit me for saying such a thing.
Yeah, no.
They wouldn't even have thought twice. They would have hit me, and they wouldn't have said "Oh, sorry about that."
Right.
They would have just been like, "No, maybe you shouldn't come around no more."
And then,
the thing is, we talked about that whatever day that was, and then I'm pretty sure whatever day that was, you had left the chat, and then later Walt jumped in. We went
okay.
5-hour chats, because he did come in and talk about. He said it was more of he had seen a thing at a shotgun place, and the place out here that does shotgun that I've talked about before, that does international shotgun events and stuff. They have a massive bar there. They definitely go there, they shoot, and then they sit around drinking. And I would not be surprised at all if some of them go shoot, go drinking, go shoot, and go drinking again. But I'm not talking get sloshed and go out there yahooing it up. But the same way golfers drink beers in between, or whatever they do, between golfings, and then baseballers do it between baseballings. I mean, that's just things people do when they're out there all day, right? You drink some beers because you're eating lunch or whatever. But I think he was talking about that, and then he had said something about some sort of drinking wine, and then going skeet shooting or something. And I think it was aimed towards ladies. So it almost sounded like okay, he is actually thinking about a thing. But then if you're talking about something like, I can't think of anything, but I guess if you combine a country club and all the fanciness they're trying to emulate golf courses now, and then you think of like an NRA dinner, where I don't know if you've been to NRA dinners or if they're the same everywhere. Everyone I've been to, though, NRA dinners are like all the gun shops in town trying to out virtue signal themselves.
You're talking
Any-
about friends of the NRA.
yeah, the ones that
Okay.
they'll have like once a year probably.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then all the manufacturers that are in the area, the region, because like in Arizona, there's probably 3 or 4 of them. So it's like kind of maybe counties or regions. So
Right.
there's only like 3 towns in Arizona.
Right.
So I don't know how it's like everywhere else, but I know that they make a ton of money basically. Though it's just a bunch of people sitting around eating fancy food and BS, and it's a chance to get sort of like a SHOT Show-esque type of thing, except for local. Like all the people in town look forward to it. They all show up. They got plenty of time. There's like a silent auction.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, it's that kind of thing.
There's raffles, there's silent auctions, there's all kind of games you can play to win guns and all kinds
and
of cool
if we
stuff.
basically spend the whole afternoon and then even like early evening, and then you leave. It's not like it's an all-day thing. But anyway,
Right.
I could see something like that, or one of the auction items be some sort of a thing where you go drink wine and then shoot shotguns for somebody that was does that. But
Right.
I can understand that, and I guess maybe because I don't drink wine ever and I don't do any of that, even if I did go to a shotgun event, like I would be not paying attention to
Well-
people drinking wine. So I guess if I open my eyes, maybe that's happened.
Right.
But it's not like, I guess, what we jump to, like some sort of Yahoo, let's go drinking and then shooting hands with our shotgun as we up in the air or something.
Well, then that leads to the second point. And before I get to that second point, talking about the Friends of the NRA, I was involved with that for a decade, probably, or something like that. And the ones that we had, and the ones that I had been to, at least within this area, within an hour's drive or whatever, they're so youth shooting sports oriented. Like our shooting sports kid actually, they assisted at the deals. They would like refill people's tea for them. They would,
yours are different than ours. Yeah.
They would run prizes back and forth, door prizes back and forth.
There
They
might
would
be kids
do
at them,
all
but
that
ours
stuff.
had beers and stuff.
So because of that, there was like I don't know if it was because of that or not, but I've never seen alcohol at one of those at all. But I just wanted to throw that in there. But you
mean at the actual dinner? Like you mean at the NRA dinner? Oh no, we definitely have
at
booze
the NRA
around.
banquet. Yeah, no, I've never been to one that had booze, but again, different areas, and that involves different committees that set
and
those
there
up.
might be different ones. There could easily be a number of different NRA banquets because they raise money for different.
That's all. Yes, right. But it might be a totally different thing. But even if it is Friends of the NRA, that is done by a local committee.
Oh, it's totally
and they can set it up. Yeah, they can set it up however they want to set it up. The committee wants
and they kind of have to because they're going to have Louisiana food in Louisiana.
Whoever.
Right.
And you want to cater to certain businesses. You're right, because you've got these big businesses that are in town or in the county or whatever, and you want to cater to things they're going to enjoy or they're going to like, right? To get them to come in, to get them to loosen up those purse strings, to get them to bid on things and buy raffle tickets and what have you. So yeah, you're going to cater to them, and in some places maybe alcohol is the way you do that. I'm just saying I've never been to one that was the case. But what I wanted to talk about when you were leading into it, you was talking about the shotgun clubs and the whatever wine and the skeet shooting thing. Here's my thing with Walt, even on that. So he's taking an outlier thing, and it's almost like he's bringing it to the forefront, like it's a common thing, and it's like totally a freaking outlier. It's a taboo outlier that even that a lot of people are going to say a lot of firearm owners are going to say I don't agree with that. The vast majority, I would venture a guess, would say I don't agree with that. So he's putting it out there. It bothers me, and I think I ended with, and I hit all three of his points, but I think I ended with something like, I don't know how your perspective is or how old you are or your experience level or anything else, but it seems to me I could have come up with much more. What am I trying to say here? I could have come up with a better 3 reasons, right? or 3 problems that I see,
Yeah.
right? Than what he come up with. His was this superficial, taboo, weird, 3 weird things. Because the gun movie culture, whatever, video game, we've got no control over that. And how many of those people that are watching movies and fantasizing and fetishing firearms because of movies or guns are even firearm owners,
I
right?
know. I think that part of it's actually a really interesting thing because we all talk about it. Well, hell, this show's just 1,200 episodes. I'd say probably 800 of those episodes, easy. We did a Wednesday show where we talked about half the time movies. In fact, for a long time, we definitely talked about a different movie every Wednesday. And that's fine, right? But I'm saying those movies, very rarely are they gun people. Milius, right? Red Dawn and those are like, the exceptions to the rule where like an actual gun guy was there, like making a point to make a gun movie.
Right.
Peck and Paw, right? Like some people actually made real movies where the rest of it, is just some sort of like the same way that cars explode and the same way that you can just walk up and lockpick by wiggling a piece of metal towards a door, or you can explode something and it's just ridiculous. And some of it I think is intentional though. Like they need to make guns seem like whatever, right? There's no reason to make guns. Every once in a while you get a movie where it's actually written in there where the gun is more realistic and it's like ineffectiveness or its inability to do something, like that it's all the owner or the handler's skill and not just some sort of talisman.
Right.
So very rarely is that the case. It's almost always some sort of comical joke if somebody misses. So that's all keeping the Overton window moved or moving the Overton window and keeping it pegged. So I don't want to give him a pass. Like, and that's the thing about when Walt was putting that out there. It's like he's got all the right in the world to suggest that's a thing, but like gun owners have nothing to do with it. Right. And because there's a lack of anything, we have to appreciate the only instances we have are the instances are the most legit or the closest to being legit or just so absurd that we can laugh at it. But we're laughing at it the way a paramedic laughs at something that regular people would be not necessarily laughing at. So that's the problem, is that when Hollywood sees us spend money on stuff that they don't understand and they just see the superficial aspect of it, boom, they double down, and then all of a sudden we're left with what? And then our kids are watching us laugh at stuff that, again, we had no option. So it was either this or watch freaking Little House on the Prairie. So we decided to watch this, and everybody's like, oh, they must like those cheesy grenade launcher bullshit things in Predator. Like that, we all dealt with that because the rest of Predator was cool. But we didn't watch Predator because of the stupid, cheesy, duct taped together guns in it. But if some money person who's not a gun person, looked at that movie and said, oh, it must have been the duct taped together gun props. Let's double down on that in the next movie. And if we got nothing else to choose from, that's how that spiral all went, I think. Yeah. Because now you start to see, and the reason I say that is because we start to see YouTube, and then boom, people left those kind of movies. You see people who have like actual ability making movies and they're decent, and you start to see even the influence of veterans and people who are in the know who are retiring or just getting paid enough to offer real insight. And some movies are figuring out that it's worth trying to be realistic, but you really can't. Realistic is boring, right? And it's not it's not a given.
Right.
So it's always going to hit bullseyes.
It's hard to move the story forward.
When it takes you 8 shots and you run out of ammo or something. Yeah. But anyway, so I think there's a lot to it. And to throw it on gun owners, that's like this whole suicide is gun owners' fault. Like, what the fuck? And that's the thing that, since we're talking about that, I don't want to keep harping on Walt because he ain't in here and he's doing good. But I understand what you're saying. Let's get into suicide real quick since we're chatting about this.
Well, I'm not harping on Walt. I mean, again, I don't know how old he is, and it's his perspectives and experiences what gives him his opinions, and I can disagree with those opinions and still respect the fact that he has them. I don't have.
And really, I'm sure the reason he puts it out there is because he wants discussion.
Right.
But here's the thing, and since you're in here and we're chatting, and there's nobody else jumping in, the thing about suicide.
Barbecue's here.
Well, he hasn't said nothing. He just comes in for a paycheck.
Oh.
He's welcome to say something. He hasn't said nothing.
I was busy eating the bacon. I'm sorry.
So, Well, that's a big 180. So I don't have to do it into suicide. At some point, though, I would like to talk about suicide. I don't necessarily need to talk about it tonight because
Well, we
it's not
can.
necessarily a positive. No, I just don't want to. It's not a positive thing, and there's no reason to. I'd rather plan on something like that so people can go, all right, we're talking about suicide next Tuesday or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
not just out of nowhere. Let's talk about a horrible suicide type of topics and stuff.
Right.
But because the other thing is you're jumping in, and we were talking about Walt there in his one video, but I've been thinking about a couple of things, and since you're in here and we're chatting about stuff, I think I'd be interested in your spin on it. First off, do you got any? Give me a chance to think about it. What I was thinking about here, or I'm going to take a second to think about a direction to go. While I'm doing that, I'm going to ghost you. Do you have any projects 2021 that 2A stuff or community thing, whatever, that are looking like they're going to come through, or looking like, because I think at the beginning of the year everybody was kind of like holding our breath, right? See how bad it was going to dive we were going to take,
Right.
before we started making plans. But
and I'm still at that stage. I want another few weeks, maybe even a couple of months. And I hate to say that, but after getting kicked in the teeth as much as we did all year long, and I'm not talking about just on the 2A front, but in general, in 2020, I'm kind of holding this to see, and then maybe make some plans from there. Because I mean, when travel's a problem, and as long as I'm within this area, I mean, good Lord, I've drove 6 hours radius, and it seems like everything's fine and the world's normal here. But you go certain places, and I have no doubt it could be a totally different world there, with mask laws or regulations or whatever it might be. And so that's going to prohibit certain things. So yeah, I haven't even really started making some moves. One thing, and I don't know if I know you've seen me because you helped me out with the artwork on that last thing you drew for me, and I appreciate that. But one contingency, I guess, and again, I don't know that this is necessarily a 2A thing, is I've figured that no shot show, no chance to pick up sticker swag, to be able to utilize that as handouts, give outs and different things like that. It is an opportunity to create my own stickers, right? And if I can't pick up 50 different designs from SHOT Show, well, I'll just create 50 different designs of my own. And I guess somewhere within that, there is the potential to maybe come up with some cool sticker designs that provoke thought, that move the ball forward as far as 2A. I know I've got a couple of FUD, the FUD Life designs, and some things with that project going. I know one thing for sure that I need to do. I've seen Sandy, Ghost, a couple of other ones get hooked up with what is it? The the Armed American Radio Network, whatever. And I tried to do that, and back when I was actually, yeah, yeah.
Did they apply, or would they ask to join?
No, they applied according to them.
Okay. I figured they just.
I did that. I did that a year ago or longer, and I never heard anything back. And so what sucks is, I don't have the Fire on Friday anymore, so I don't have that regular, consistent interview style format, and I just don't think that Mondays and Thursdays are necessarily conducive to adding to that mix. And so, I need to work on a pivot to start scheduling more for, not necessarily even do it on a Friday. I could keep the format to where it's completely random, but I need to work on some interviews, making some connections, and I say interviews, just getting some people on the line, and record some podcast, and then maybe get back over there and it serve a couple of purposes. I mean, first of all, interject my thoughts and my perspectives into the total of the conversation, because my thoughts and perspectives are different than Ghost. I'm coming from a different situation. Is different than Paul Lathrop. Is different than Sandy and whoever. And the way that I handle guests and whatnot, going to be totally different too. And I think that's a
Are you able to have your volume at a 1 level, but then your guest's volume at maybe 16 or 25 times that level?
Not that I'm aware of. Why?
I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
Because that's how you're supposed to do it now.
I'm guessing you haven't listened to enough of the shows. That seems to be running. They have an issue with that right now.
Oh, you're talking about the way that they're doing their podcast or whatever.
I'm thinking it's Zoom. Like whatever Paul's using to record, because he records in a batch.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is, but yeah, he, I don't know. I don't want to get into the Paul thing. He thinks he's doing a great job, and he certainly doesn't mind patting himself on the back for it. I think that he's not as good and hasn't learned near as much as he thinks he has, but it's one of the things where at the same time I don't want to crap on it, completely, because
I don't think you need to, because they're at the national level and they're competing with the FPC. I've been watching the FPC lawyers do their thing because they're good at it and it's concise. I watched the ARFCOM thing, and that's, I don't know, somewhere between like watching Yankee and Jared, right? Like, have you watched the ARFCOM? Like,
I have not.
It's I only because I play with the logarithm, it came up and I watched one and I was like, it was during the breaks. I was like, and then because it was interesting, I didn't like it because it's like Yankee used to be. I don't watch Yankee enough, but back in the day, Yankee used to put a lot of effort into putting like little screens up, like when you read the news, there'd be like a little picture and a picture up over your shoulder. He would always put like little pictures up there. So let's say he's talking about something, there'd be a picture of some lady's mad, or there'd be like a refrigerator falling over on somebody, or it'd be like Batman punching somebody, just to like accent whatever he's saying. And I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know. It just bothers me that somebody would sit there doing all that instead of just saying it. Like, I'm not interested in all this. I'm not. Anyway, I never understood it. So that's what ARFCOM does, is they spend a lot of time, like, I don't know if it's a team of people, but it just seems to me like they're spending a lot of effort to have folders and folders of these files that they drop in, and it's like they're proud of themselves. Like, they drop a lot of them. Like, oh, they say the word knee or something, and there's a knee on the screen. It's like, all right, we get it. You got a lot of files, and you know how to edit videos. Like, come on. Like, why don't you pay this guy to do more research or something? Like, I don't care about these video edits or whatever.
Well, the production value means nothing if there's not substance to it, and that's just
the problem. Is there is kind of substance, but it's sort of like a carnival barker giving you the substance, and it's like, ugh. So I keep searching for more. Just give me the substance. I don't need like a nice delivery.
And I appreciate that opinion, but I think you're in the minority of people that watch things. The vast, if you dive into creator chats with creators across all types of niches, talking about all types of things, attention span on people is very low, and flashing things on the screen and changing scenes and things like that is how you keep people's attention. So they're applying a common technique.
No shit. They got 15,000 views in like the first day. It's Yankee numbers. Like, it's crazy numbers. But that's also, I don't like knowing that. It bothers me to know that 15,000 people are interested in that. Like, it's not that many people, I guess. But
I hear you.
I didn't watch it. I watched it like hours after it was up. And it happens every time. So that's just how some people are getting their news. And that's one of the reasons. Like watching Matt. Like, I don't sit there and watch Matt's news show because he does the same freaking thing. Except that what he does is he'll show like the article that he's looking at, which is a little bit more interesting than just seeing some guy's knee or a refrigerator falling over on a buffet something. It's like they just come up with these absurd pictures to show. Or maybe they're pictures from video games. I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? Like, they could be pictures from movies I haven't seen, for all I know.
Right.
But anyway, like I say, it's been interesting listening to different explanations, I guess. So anyway, that's all we're saying, I guess, is that Paul's at least doing it. And I guess I was saying that I don't think there's any reason, because he is, like you say, he's doing a good job. At least he's doing it. At least Second Amendment Foundation is doing it. I kind of prefer, if it was my ball game, if I was calling the shots, they should have been done that, obviously years ago, so that it already exists. And now they could do something else, but whatever, at least they're getting started, and the next time around they'll be fluent at this. But how can Paul get to be fluent if he doesn't do it for a while? And the way he's doing it in batches, I guess we don't know. I'm guessing a month at a time. That means we got to wait a month before he figures out whatever and then changes something, and then it, gets to the next level better. But I was also trying to, I'm not just bitching, because I'm also recognizing that he's gone from freaking 0 to 99% or 98% or wherever he's at.
Oh yeah.
Because it started out really differently. He's gotten much better. He's being better.
Yeah. No props. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, I hate.
But at the same time, like I say, what I guess I was getting at is that because all these other organizations are just kicking butt, they're going to get some flack. Like they're gonna figure it out. They're up on the internet. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. Right.
People are going to tell them.
I would agree. With all the silence, it was Barbecue's turn to talk, and he's quiet.
I guess I'm reading. I guess I could.
So we've got to take away. I think we need to take away at least 3 A's. So he's negative 1 A now.
So that's the thing. I think you guys were talking about doing podcasts and uploading them, and the audio and stuff, and it's getting different, So it was for a while there. There was a couple of options, and then, well, I mean, if we go back far enough, there wasn't even internet fast speed or capacity or capability or anything. Now that people got all these things, I imagine whenever we started talking about just kind of looking at the playing field and looking at whether or not YouTube was going to last forever, and if people are going to jump platforms or what, I would say at that point it's been consistent. Like smartphones may have gotten a little bit better with their cameras and stuff, but until we get 5G, we're not going to see any massive real differences and stuff. So with that in mind, like people are using their phones and stuff the fairly consistent way, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you another thing is the whole, you talk about 5G, and that's true. The other thing is 4K. 4K is a big deal for a lot of people, but when you're talking about those people that use their phones, 4K is a massive resource sink. And so it's like they're gonna have to come up with some way to do some massive storage or something, if somebody is using their phone for 4K, because that's killer.
Well, I remember, again, it's not the kind of stuff I retain, I guess, whenever I'm paying attention to people talking about this kind of stuff, but there's so many people using their phones for content, to whatever, view or read.
Sure.
That, I don't remember if it was one of your shows, people talking about thumbnails, or if I was reading something about thumbnails, and somebody was saying, the thumbnails or you can't read what's in your thumbnails because I look at it on a phone.
Uh-huh.
And, I'm just, I don't know how many years of doing stuff where it's like, you can't win, because if you make it too big, people are like, why is your word so big? You can't see the blah, blah, blah behind it.
Right.
And it makes sense, because if you're on a computer or TV, the TV's even worse, right? A TV's huge. You make it all words, and that's obnoxious on a TV, right? Now you're looking at 3 feet of yellow instead of, whatever you could be looking at on your cool.
Right.
And it, I guess technically on some of the platforms you can offer multiple thumbnails and stuff, but I guess that's one of the questions we can chat about a little bit, bigger picture, so that we're evolving the conversation and not just old guys complaining about the way things are or it's changing too fast. Do you think that with the way things are now and incorporating those conversations I alluded to in the past, actually plenty of times with the two of us and others having chats about the community and the tech and everything, and the idea of changing platforms, do you think that things are going to get more volatile with platforms and I don't know, censorship or whatever they call it, or however it's perceived? Or do you think it'll kind of go back to some quote unquote similar to what we've seen norm, because it's easier to corral everybody, or for whatever reason? I want to.
I think we're reaching a tipping point, where that's that's going to start. It's going to start moving the other way. I see a lot of demonization of platforms. That is, I would say,
Wait, when you say go the other way, from where?
from to move to where there's less of the censoring or whatever, what people would call censoring.
Oh, so you think the people will stay where we're at, but the platforms will back off?
I think the platforms are going to shift. And don't get me wrong, I think they're going to shift because of pushes from certain people. Is going to end up pushing them that way. I think that users of the platform, I think the advertisers of the platform, I think that employees of the companies, I think there's several factors at play that are going to end up start to push them back the other direction. What people have to realize is a couple of things. Number one is that there is liability. There's different types of liability. So this thing that to say that, oh, well, Facebook's going to get to a point to where, or YouTube or whoever, to where you can get on and just say anything and everything and show anything and everything. And that's never going to be the case. It never was the case, and it's never going to be the case, right? And so that's an unrealistic expectation that some people think, and those people are never going to be happy. But I do think we're going to see it curb back. Like I said, I think we've just about reached a tipping point with it. It pretty much has to. The pendulum has to start swinging back a little bit. Of course, as a pendulum goes, I mean, there's no such thing as perpetual motion, right, or whatever, and so it's going to, it may not swing all the way back the opposite direction, but I think it will curtail a little bit. And I forgot where I was going with that.
I was asking if okay, go ahead.
But the the thing is, I think it's already to an extent moved that way more than a lot of people realize, because I think about 60% of the demonization that goes on out there is done under false pretense, because I see it every single day. I see somebody crying foul on one of these platforms when there was no, I mean, they fell on their own sword to become a martyr. And it's like, well, you intentionally violated the policy just to buck the tide or whatever, knowing that you were going to get
the platforms themselves.
Well, I'm talking about some of the users that cry that the platform is censoring me or blah 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 blah. They intentionally fell on
something intentionally against the terms of service so that they can be pushed off,
and then so they can be a martyr. Yeah, and I mean, I see that all the time. Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, you're looking at it again from pretty creator centric. I guess I'm thinking more of. I'm looking at.
Well, I see it with users. I see people that go, "Oh, I'm in Facebook jail again," and they're on like their secondary account, and they're so proud that they're in Facebook jail again, right? And they want to talk about how they wouldn't let me post this, and it's some semi-quasi racist or sexist, or I mean, it's content that you had no business throwing it out there.
Or it's just something weird that got hit by a weird filter, and they're like, "Look at what I got hit by a weird filter for."
Well, that's possible too. Yeah.
But I guess my thing is though, like,
I know a guy that complains.
You haven't let me do my thing yet. I don't care. I know what you're saying, but that's old topics. We talked about those. I guess I'm trying to get past that to the idea that we just had a pretty weird scare where it almost seemed like with Trump being deplatformed and the whole thing about the 6th, and then, like, who's going to show up and are they talking about it? And everybody got scared. And then Parler, right? So all of that stuff was happening and people got really aware, right? And then because it didn't continue, like you say, nothing's a line, right? There's escalation, but then, whatever pressure or stress is, created that escalation, eventually loses momentum or whatever the words are, and it starts to die down. And that's, I'm assuming, what's happened. I don't want to say it has happened because we're still technically in the midst of it, I think. But, right, we have this weird situation, and it's sort of like everyone's figuring out how to deal with it. But they go right back to Facebook. and they go right back to their Facebook groups. And I'm just kind of, me, I'm looking at stuff, I'm watching stuff, I'm looking for 2A rallies, right? I'm looking for, what's coming up. And it's like, yeah, blah, 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 meet us on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. We're hooking up on the Facebook thing, like, blah, blah, we're going on Facebook Live. And it's like, it's so, I don't know. I guess that was my point is, you're saying that it's going to go back. So you think that people just like haven't learned any lesson from like the whole, like really obvious, like and again, it doesn't matter if they're out to get us or if it was an accident or if it was individuals or policy, but not so much like a content. Trump didn't go, oh yeah, I'm going to get myself kicked off. That was just like a whole bunch of stuff that just happened. And then, tidal waves of residual shocks or whatever. But now that it's all over, I don't see like, a massive effort to let's take our 2A platform or our 2A organizations off of Facebook, or let's take our company off of Facebook. Let's take our discussion about our sporting event, shooting sporting event off of Facebook. Instead, it's like let's go right back to Facebook. It's so easy to do our events and stuff. That's, I guess, my concern.
Well,
I guess the question.
You first of all, I need to clarify by saying that when I talk about the regression or what, I'm not talking about any specific platform. I firmly believe that Facebook is on the way out. I do not believe that with YouTube. I see a difference in the corporate structure.
I would think except for the events and except for the Facebook Live, everybody talks about how they do they keep in touch on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, and I'm getting to that, but I'm just saying I see Facebook as a fledgling, struggling platform. They don't innovate and look to the future nearly as much as YouTube does. YouTube, think about it, already has the integration of the community tab, which is in essence a Facebook feed. Let's be honest about it. So I don't see YouTube in nearly as much trouble with longevity as it applies to the future as Facebook. And I think you can, when you look at the kids, at the younger generations, the younger crowds and stuff like that, and you look at Facebook, I think that's another telltale sign, right? With all of that said, though, I don't believe, and you firmly know that I believe what I'm preaching here. I don't believe stepping away from any platform, as long as there's potential to reach people on said platform, is a wise move. Now, everybody has to own it's an ROI. Use a business mindset when you go into it, right? And so if you're not willing to put in enough, or you're not willing to put up with the terms of service or the community guidelines or the whatever it might be, just the stupid, hard to use platforms, which is a lot of new alternatives out there. I don't know if we get around to talking to them or not, but is that worth what you're getting back out of it? And that's for everybody. That's going to be different, right? So there's going to be some that get fed up and they move on. There's going to be some that, and when they move on, that's the problem with Facebook, is there's not really younger generations coming into Facebook. If anything, it's older generations that are the new people coming on.
No, and when you talk about like the community tab on YouTube, what YouTube continues to do is what Google started with, which is being fairly streamlined. They only cram a couple of ads on a screen, and they're pretty obvious where the ads are, and they're consistent, so they're not like screwing with you. Where Facebook is just a mess.
Oh yeah.
So the community tab on YouTube has to be more appealing for like most people, I would think, just visually, and those new platforms, because they're not, well, they're basically all those things you see on Facebook are the little interfaces with the AI, where it's either discovering new things about you or feeding you. So those other platforms just haven't incorporated that stuff yet. There's no reason they won't. It's just that they haven't got to the size or interest to do that yet. But that's really the negative parts about Facebook to me, is that it's so messy. But you're right, nobody uses it. Very few people use it recreationally anymore, unless they just like to be stressed or feed the stress or whatever. People are using it like for business in order to sell stuff to the people who like to feed on the stress of Facebook, or to communicate. Because like I say, there's a couple, there's things that I have to deal, like I got to go, okay, I'm sitting out, because I just refuse to go into Facebook and figure it out, because I don't go in there enough. I'd have to literally figure out how to go find the group, for whatever thing. I'll
Right.
just listen to somebody else who tells me afterwards when it happened. Like there's things I miss because I'm not going to go to Facebook to find it. So that's what I'm saying is those kind of things are what's annoying. And there's got to be, if there's a group of 100 people, let's say taking some kind of a speed shooting class, or maybe they do some kind of a, meet up at a range on the third Thursday of the month or something. And it's like, will we use our Facebook group to organize that? That like probably some percentage of them, I hope it's most of them are like, dang it, that's the only thing I need to use Facebook for. And now I got to use Facebook. But they do it because they want to be in that group. I just think that's, it'd be great if we could. And I'm not saying here's the thing to go to, but like do something else. Like here's a good reason, because look what they just did. They just screwed with a bunch of people. It's not your friend. Go find other options. And that's the thing, because we're capitalists and we're, barbecue got pissed. We're capitalists and we're clever. So let them, let the community, or the industry, I should say, come up with options. Because that's what's also driving me nuts, is that all the stuff that we do, and I don't want to get off on yelling about the anniversary of whatever just happened right now, but man, all that attention, let's just say the alternatives to SHOT Show, like that was one of my topics for tonight anyway. There's, is SHOT Show going to get bigger and better, or is SHOT Show going to just wither and die? So one of the reasons, or one of the variables there, is all these new little shots that happened this year.
Right.
Anyway, so that's just an indication. Like we're spending all this money. We got all these little SHOT Shows that can just pop up because we're capable, right? People understand how to figure it out. Like SHOT Show wasn't doing something unique. They were just they were doing it in Vegas, and they had the reputation of doing it, the momentum or whatever, the tradition. But I guess that's my thing. It's like, you know about the DC Projects Academy that they're doing, I think in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I was in there saying, like, I think it was on Locked and Loaded, going, like, I just found out about it, I think on Sunday at Locked and Loaded.
Right.
And I'm like, come on, all this stuff, like literally they can do a caravan of YouTubers in rental Ferraris and fast cars to emulate the Cannonball Run for like more than a month, right? They did that for like weeks and weeks. And it was all to do little meets and greets. And you're telling me that they can't take probably a fraction of that expense and send all the DC Project ladies together so that they don't have to think about it and they can do their events. Oh, it wasn't on Locked and Loaded. I think it was on. No, it was on Locked and Loaded, right?
I don't know. I heard about it
on Locked and Loaded or on Gun Freedom Radio.
Yeah, I'd heard about it when I think we were off air, but when Rolo and I were talking about, he was on the show last night, and I think off air he was telling me about it.
Yeah, so that just bothers me. There's only 50 ladies, and how much can it possibly cost for the most extravagant, expensive chick to go somewhere for a weekend? $5,000? I have no idea. $10,000? Whatever it is, it's nothing compared to whatever they spend to bring influencers together to influence. That's all I'm getting at. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing where, man, we could be getting together behind something like that. And if you're going to put a platform together, then it can allow everybody to get together and participate in, doing a popularity contest. Then why the hell can't you put something together? Or maybe I shouldn't do that because that's picking on people. So if you can put a platform together to create a community like we do at Gun Channels, that was off the shelf software, right? I didn't come up with some magic. I went out and looked around and I bought the stuff that would accomplish the job we needed done, right? And then learned for a couple of years and then maintained it. So, like, how hard would it be for somebody with this cash to send off a portion of their department for marketing to go, hey, make sure those ladies are funded, and then, go talk to industry partners and let's make sure that we're not taking the whole brunt of this, but they never have to worry about funding again. And that, unless they want to learn how to fund, I don't want to mansplain at them, but that's the kind of stuff that just irks me. And then, they're talking about doing their meetings on Facebook, like any 2A organization doing their meetings on Facebook, an organization that would be more than happy to be unscrupulous to work against us. If nothing else, what if they decided to just send everybody to a different place, a different parking lot, like just do little things like that. Like, and it doesn't have to be the company. It could just be somebody in a department somewhere who goes, oh, you know what? I bet you I can mess with these people who must all be Trump supporters.
Oh, right.
So So that was my one of my questions. You think YouTube will get, or SHOT Show will get bigger and better because they'll figure out, we got competition. Like anybody can do this. We better make it better than it has been. Or will it become vaporware and like people won't even care? Because really the thing is, name one thing that people care about tradition-wise anymore. There is almost nothing. The one thing we're losing faster than oil is any interest or respect for tradition. So when SHOT Show's gone, nobody's going to give a shit. Nobody's going to care that SHOT Show even happened.
Yeah. Well, I want to flip that around.
Oh, the only thing we're losing faster and all that is barbecue, because barbecue left and he won't show back up.
Well, that's what I was going to say when barbecue, he didn't left, he got kicked out. What a lot of people don't understand about the Daily Gun Show here is that it's predicated on how much 2A you have in the tank. And when you run out, you automatically get kicked out of it.
You can have all the old-fashioned. You can have all the old-fashioned 2A you want. It don't count for innovating. We have to evolve the 2A.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Different font, different, like make it italics once in a while, like different kind of 2As.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You constantly have to fill it costs 2A to be on this show. So you constantly have to be filling a tank. Exactly. So, no, what I'd say is I'd flip that around to what you said. And I would say you're talking about, a SHOT Show are they going to be worth it because of the little things that popped up? I would say with the, let's just say the stranglehold, I don't know what word you use, right, that the NSSF has on everything, is if SHOT Show happens, does that mean that these other little things happen anymore? Or was this just a one-off thing for them? Even if they said it wasn't, right? Is this just a one-off thing for them? Because if SHOT Show's on, it's like, well, there's no sense in us spending the money doing all of this to maybe get a few people and a few companies because everybody's going to be going to SHOT Show.
Well, I forget where somebody was talking about this in some chat, and everybody was like, oh yeah, screw SHOT Show, goodbye. Like, no, nobody needs SHOT Show. It was stupid to begin with. Like, we should have never gone to SHOT Show and ever. And, I care. I look backwards. I like SHOT Show a lot. So I've looked backwards, and the reason SHOT Show exists is because we had regional SHOT Shows before that. Because guess what? The industry still needs to get together.
Right.
I think it was, I don't know, you might have been in. I don't know if it was your chat or if it was just a chat you were in. But I was saying stuff like, y'all are just talking about it from your angle, from the angle of content creators, which there's 2,000 of us media, 2,500 media, whatever.
Right.
There's 60,000 people in that building, right? Like those people are doing all kinds of business that most of media, that's one of the reasons I get frustrated at media, is because there's so much cool shit happening in SHOT Show. And I spent my first years just opening my eyes and, I took a lot of pictures, but I opened my eyes and just discovered, because there was no rules. It wasn't like, oh, you go there to do booth reviews. Like, that didn't exist yet. So we were just walking around discovering what was in SHOT, and there's such awesome stuff happening there. Now, it's part of NSSF's fault for ripping out Supplier Showcase, the pop-up, they're ripping out little pieces of it that were interesting and intermixed, but that's also part of SHOT Show, is the evolution of it. But anyway, yeah, it's not an easy answer, but I think the reason it exists is because a bunch of them were too difficult for people to get to. So if you're somebody like Bond Arms, who has a little trailer and they have a crew, and I think they even had like a painted Suburban or a wrapped Suburban or something in front of the trailer, right? Mm-hmm. And they have like a pretty nice little package. So it's the company's business or a company's truck, and they send people out. And I'm guessing they do that, full time, right? So they're basically on the road. So how much can it cost to have 2 or 3 or 4 people on the road, plus the, their salaries and all the hotels and the gas and everything, plus whatever event fees. Come on, they have to pay the booth fees. It's probably thousands of dollars every time they drive to a place, just to get a fee to get in there. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so for them, of course, I got hiccups. They're definitely in that game. Like, I'm using them as an example because they do it, but they go to like gun shows. They go to I think they go all kinds of different things. They don't just limit themselves to gun stuff. Like, they're smart. They take their interesting branding to probably like rodeos and 4-wheel drive stuff and camping events, right? Wherever they can get in. So anyway, besides the people like that are all over the place, I think it was the idea that having even multiple regional shows was difficult for somebody who's, what are they paying back in the day? Thousands of dollars. Now they're something like $20,000 a booth or something, probably. So if there was 2 shows of SHOT Show, like, and even if the booths were $10,000 or $5,000 instead of $20,000, how many of those can you really do? Because now you got to double all the travel and all the employee stuff. Now you got to get your booth to 2 places. That's 2 wear and tears on booths. Everybody just acts like everything just happens, but booths exist and they cost a fortune. And I've been to multiple factory, walkthroughs, and they're like, there's our SHOT Show booth that we're rebuilding. And like literally the rest of the year, they're rebuilding their SHOT Show booth because it gets broken coming home and going there. They get it there, they put it together, they have to fix it, right? They have SHOT Show, they take it apart, it gets all broken again, they take it back, they set it up at their place, or some of them set it up at their place, and then they live in their SHOT Show booth all year because they're working on it and figuring out, what they can do, because it's $20,000 of their budget. Or probably that's a little shop, actually, so I can't imagine what the big ones are.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I think, I don't know the answer to it. I really wish NSSF wasn't in Connecticut and just kept everything so close-chested. But I don't hate them and I don't love them. Like, I'm okay with them, but I'm not their biggest advocate either. They don't impress me, but they don't just, they don't disgust me. They're doing it. But they kind of suck at it. It's sort of like some of the gun show promoters. Like, you're doing it, so I can't complain. But man, you suck at it, and like you won't change. Like, come on, change. So I'm hoping that this is going to get them to change, because I think they started to up their game. If I start to think about it, I was not really paying attention there for a while to the media days. But media day had always been. It started in 5, and then we started going in 6. Because we knew about it and we didn't get invited the first year. So it didn't always exist. SHOT Show has been going on since the 80s. So it started, and it was kind of a different thing. It was more like media thought they were a big deal. So it was like we were being catered to back in the old days, and you had to be this tall to apply, like to get in, because you were about to get like catered to. You had literally like a really good dinner and everything, and like you're gonna get all kinds of swag. So they didn't let anybody in because they're basically probably giving us hundreds of dollars worth of stuff, I imagine. So it was just a different thing. And anyway, at some point SHOT Show took it over, and I think that SHOT Show, now that I'm thinking about it, SHOT Show might have taken it over when all the other shoots started happening, and that was probably because there was competition. Like whoever it was running that one at the Boulder Club, that SHOT Show kind of took under their wing and acted like was theirs, but even though it was this other company doing it for years, there started to be competition for that. And then they were like, I think what happened is it was too difficult. I think the company that was running it couldn't do it anymore. It got too big for them. And that's when SHOT Show was like, well, we could either, go to one of these others or just take it over and do it. And I think that's that's how it went. But they never say. You just have to kind of glean it from seeing who's there and how they brand it and everything. And then it's not like they make any mention of it. So half of it I'm trying to remember after the fact, like, oh yeah, that did change. And all of a sudden it didn't say brought to you by Oak Tree or whatever, camouflage. Because for the longest time it was like Media Day brought to you by. And that was the big deal, because they were going all out. You got a big bag of swag. You got all kinds of gifts when you got there. Like a stack of magazines and stuff. So anyway, I don't know. I would definitely like to see it continue. I really wish they would have taken, if I was running the thing, I would have had them go to Dallas. Or maybe, I don't think Waco could handle it, dude. I was going to say, you guys were talking about Waco the other day. Could San Antonio handle SHOT? Probably not. Dallas is just so big. I think Dallas could. It's just so big.
Yeah, Dallas probably could. I mean, I think Houston could.
I've never been to Houston, so I don't know Houston.
Yeah, I think Houston could.
Or I've been to Houston, but I only driven through Houston. I never paid attention.
Dallas, I don't think Dallas could. I just don't think Dallas has anything big enough. Houston, I think, probably does. Yeah.
Oh, I figured they'd have something big enough. I just figured Dallas would be too crowded and too big of a city to have it in.
Well, the biggest I know is the where the NRA was or whatever.
I didn't go there, so I don't know what that was. Was that the football thing?
No, that was the convention center.
But that is the thing, because it is the 5th biggest convention center in Vegas. So I don't know how big that is compared to all other conventions, but I'm guessing it takes a pretty big convention center.
Right.
But it would have been abbreviated. We're acting like it was like what if they would have planned it out, and now they're expanding. Remember, SHOT was supposed to be 2 buildings this year. It was supposed to be twice as big this year. But anyway, if I would have been able to plan it, they would have gone to Dallas or something. And even if it would have been abbreviated, at least they would have kept the tradition going, and it would have been like, in spite of all odds, the 2A is still, and it would have been like all hands on deck. Let's make sure that we're, doing everything right. Let's learn from all our mistakes. Let's, be capitalists, but in a way that understanding our, political environment is where we do our capitalism. So let's make sure. Here's the other thing that bothers me about NSSF. Should I talk about this on live? Because I think this is a campaign that needs to be championed or something by somebody. But think about all the gun shops that are out there. And I've said it before when we were talking about content creation and stuff, that people would adopt gun shops. But seriously, like, gun shops can be a conduit of knowledge, info, dissemination of info. Some sort of a kiosk type of thing. I think we talked about that a long time ago. Some sort of a kiosk that would offer, like Jared or somebody, maybe, some sort of a 2A news network type of thing that would just go out. And so that we weren't dependent on internet, we'd have this other thing that ran off of some sort of industry-based back channel. And then shops, could have, like pipes, outlets to it, or whatever, connected to it, and then start having meetings and stuff at these gun shops. Like, encourage gun shops. You guys didn't go to it. We went to that meeting last year, like how to grow your customer base. Well, one way to grow your customer base is to start activism. Actually, that was brought up in there, but start offering your classroom where you do your CCW classes, which are off the shelf, right? Like, everybody can't get enough CCW classes now. Like, use those where you use them 3 days a week for CCW classes, use them the other 2 days a week to let clubs do their work there, do their meetings there or something. Right. Get some sort of a newsletter going and have some sort of meeting so that people know what's your local political stuff going on, who to vote for, or who's running, at least, maybe not who to vote for, but, awareness. Right. So anyway, I think that that's the kind of stuff where, if they would have taken that kind of lead and said, hey, we're the industry, and what can we do? What are we? What does the industry represent? Well, it's we are literally the tubes, of the community, and we already can distribute ammo and optics and everything else. Why can't we distribute some newsletters or some internet wires? Some internet protocols along these channels. I mean, how many of the big middlemen, the big marketing, what am I trying to say? The big distributors, that buy stuff from the manufacturers, hold them in giant warehouses, and then have catalogs or online catalogs, or offer portals for the gun shops themselves. So you go to a gun shop and it has everything under the sun. It doesn't actually have everything under the sun. It just is working with a giant what do they call it? Distribution,
fulfillment, or whatever. Yeah.
And then, it comes out of these warehouses. So, we've got the infrastructure already there for both the web side of it and the, whatever you want to call, like, the infrastructure side of, having the networks, basically the network side of it. Anyway, it just drives me nuts when I start thinking about all this tech, and then you start hearing people go, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't have SHOT anymore. In an environment where people are willing to let the NRA just burn to the ground for Bloomberg for free. Like, Bloomberg's like, I could pay somebody from Monsanto to burn down the NRA, or I guess I could just wait a little while.
Right. Right.
Well, that was my rant for a bit. Barbecue's back in.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Did you get your... Now. Yeah, I'm having water issues myself. I don't even want to think about it. What kind of your issues?
Oh, I think I've got another broken pipe.
Oh, that's worse.
Yep.
I did see somebody who had, like, a tree that fell over because of the cold. Like, the fuck. And then the tree must have been wrapped around some kind of underwater pipe or underground pipe. And so it was just some Instagram thing of, like, a pretty major we had probably like a 6-inch, 4-inch pipe with, you know, pressurized water like blowing into the air like a giant unregulated fountain. And I'm like, that would suck to wake up to. Like, can you imagine, like, you live in it was in an apartment thing, so you're just like,
Oh wow.
well, it's cold out today. I'm gonna maybe not go out this morning. And then it's like, oh, okay. Or there's a, you know, my house is gonna flood, so I guess I am getting out in the cold with all the whatever shit I can gather. Oh, apartment life. Did you ever live in apartments?
No, I never have.
For a couple months.
I've lived in a couple of apartments over my life. I do not prefer it if I can help it. But I didn't mind the apartment part. I always freaked out having people under me or over me, because how do you know they're not starting a fire? How do you know what they're doing?
Well,
It wasn't like a constant fear, but whenever I'd think about it long enough, I'm like, because there's a lot of fires in an apartment.
yeah, that's like my parents. The place they were living a few years ago. The apartment above them caught on fire, and they found out it was because the people above them were cooking meth.
Yeah, beautiful.
But then, I mean, we found out that really you don't even have to cook the stuff anymore. We were talking to the state police investigator that was doing it all, because in my area, there's a small town called Titusville. It used to be the meth capital of the world. They were producing so much meth there. But now they estimate there's anywhere between 2,000 to 5,000 active meth labs in our county at any given time now, because now they apparently figured out how to make the meth without cooking it, where they can just put it in a 2-liter bottle and burp it like wine every so often.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't know.
You just 3D print the meth now. You buy
Right.
you buy 80% meth, and then you 3D print the holes in it.
Just go and buy all the ingredients that you need, mash it up, make that your media, and
All right, so I think we thrashed, whatever the words are, to about the SHOT Show one. I'm looking for my notes up here, because the other one I think was 3D printers. So what the hell, you were all talking about 3D printers and SHUM Show one day, and then everybody started talking about 3D printers again.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me think, is there a 3D? Well, there's the one place called Code something that the one guy who invented the first one, I think, came up with a thing, and his goal is trying to get the code out there. Code is free speech and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But is there like a 3D, what's the word, like enthusiast segment, I guess, whatever the words are. I don't know what the right word is, but you know what I mean? Like, we need to have like a 2-way organization for that, because, well, I would say actually an enthusiast / 2-way, because it's sort of all hand in hand, right? If you're 3D gun printing,
Right.
obviously I guess you could be oblivious and just not care about laws, right? But most people are going to be like, I really want to make sure I'm doing it legally, so I need to know what the laws are, and I care about what the laws are. And, right, you're like 3D printing. It's not like, I'm assuming people understand, it's not like, oh, here, I've got my 3D print gun design. I'll put it in my 3D printer and press print. Come back in a specified amount of time, and here's my perfect gun. You know, it's a hobby, so you're messing up and screwing around. So like user groups and, you know, forums just for troubleshooting and stuff would be, you would think, like, there probably already are. I'm guessing people that 3D print are already talking to each other on the line, but I haven't heard of them. They haven't hit my radar.
Yeah, there's definitely forums, communities, things like that. I'm speaking off of a buddy of mine that's really big into it, and you know, just I don't know, kind of echoing what he's told me about it.
I keep liking to identify new areas of advocacy, I guess. Let's see. I posted, since Woods jumped in here, I just ended up posting the hour-long, that's 45-minute long video, where I went through and just basically read my 20-something pages of notes, or index cards of notes from that Armed book, from the first 100 pages of that Armed book. So it's 46 minutes long, and it's basically just me looking at index cards. So it's useless video. So I crammed it into my video editor, and I rendered it 46 minutes long in 460 instead of probably 4K or whatever the heck my camera records in, my phone records in. So it started out being like 4 billion or 4 million or whatever numbers of file sizes, and it took it down a quarter of that size to 1 million something, whatever. So anyway, made it way easier to deal with, and zapped it up onto the internet. It took about 20 minutes to upload it all. It'll go live tomorrow. So what I'll probably do then is take the same thing where I just chopped it into the 480 file size, because I don't think anybody cares what it looks like when I'm just looking at business, index cards. I'm going to chop that. I'll just use the same editing software, find the pieces where I pause in between topics or whatever, and then probably use them in this show, because a couple of them are boring. I'm not going to bring up, but a couple of them are really gold, like really interesting topics that I don't think we've ever talked about on this show.
Yeah, that Gary Kleck, he's the real deal.
Yeah, a little verbose, but I've only mostly read Don B. Gates, I think, so far.
Right, but he's very similar to John Lott, that they weren't originally gun people. They didn't really originally care one way or the other. They just heard a bunch of stuff and then started researching it in really quality research. And like Kleck is peer reviewed, has been so for 30 years. It's amazing to me, and in listening to this, because I ordered the book that you're reading just now, and it'd be like a week before I get it or whatever. But just in looking him up online, I found one that was a debate he did in, I think, Soho, California. It was like there was somebody from the other
like
side.
Like a video, or you have to read it?
Yeah, it was like, no, it was like a whole hour long, like somebody filmed it, and and they threw it up on the internet, and it's there's an affirmative and a negative, and like the question was like, does gun control work? And he was on the negative, and there was somebody else that was affirmative, and it was debate style. So like somebody would talk for 20 minutes, and then somebody would rebuttal, and then he would go back, and then he gets a final rebuttal. And then they actually did something with the audience, like they had to hit some buttons and say, where do you stand in the beginning? And then the winner is whoever gets people to go a little bit more one way or the other. And I believe you won, but it was like 80% of the people thought gun control was a good idea. And then at the end, like 72% thought it was a good idea. So only like 8% really changed, but it was California.
Well, but it's also a talk. You're talking about this 1 hour and 37-minute thing from Reason TV?
Yeah, that's it. That was super cool. And I didn't realize, after watching that, so many of the talking points that I've used and I've heard, and even like, John Lott uses, is that guy's original research, that 1.5 to 2.4 million gun uses were, it's okay. Clover always has extra 2A. But that was his research in looking over, this crime stats for not just 1 year, for multiple years. And he's, his point is pretty obvious. That, like, the one that we always know, that literally gun control only affects people that obey laws. So they're stupid.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen this one. I guess I'm thinking of another one that's similar. So this one is from 2018. The one I'm thinking of is much older. So I'm definitely I linked it here. I'll end up watching it. And then it's an hour something long, but it's a debate, so you don't have to watch nothing. You can just listen to it.
He's a better speaker than Lott, as much as I truly admire Lott.
Oh, really? Because I was going to say, my problem is I think that this guy would be super boring, because he's right and he's methodical or whatever. But
well, in that debate, he does a couple jokes first.
Oh, okay.
And I like Lott a lot, but he's there's a play on words there. He's a little dry sometimes when he's speaking. Not so much when he's just on like some news channel interviews him for 4 minutes. He can do a pretty good job there. But the longer ones I've seen of Lott are still good. I just really Gary Kleck was I thought he did a really great job. Like he's the real deal. And then looking up who his researchers and what journals he's been in, he's the real deal.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. So that's, if you're interested in the subject, then yeah, he's authoritative, right? Authoritative because he's aware of all the stuff so that, yeah, I would imagine having a discussion with him or whatever, he'd know the one to bring up, not just example, but the example for whatever, which would be useful. But that's the thing is that I guess that's what I should say. They're going to be boring if you're not interested in listening to them. If you're aware of what they're doing and saying, then he's actually pretty concise, actually. I mean, he's not like saying stuff just to say stuff. He's just very, I guess I don't say correct, but he's just, very accurate in the book. So it just takes, 2 pages or 3 pages to be accurate. And if he took a while to say something just to be accurate, I'm just thinking, the way people pay attention to most stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's not an easy read. It's not like a novel or something where it's enjoyable to read necessarily. It's
difficult because you've heard me. It's tough because I haven't read it before, and there's big ass words for no reason because he's trying to be precise. But it's worth it because every couple of pages, literally, I don't think I've gone I haven't read more than 2 pages, but I haven't really gone more than a few moments where there's not another interesting point. Like I say, I have an hour's worth of talking about points out of 100 pages of the book. It's a goldmine of points. And the thing is, some of them are not necessarily like, here's another point from the book, but it's like, oh, look at the way he's talking about this in 2001 about the gun control in 1996. What can we do about that in 2022? Right? Like, what are we going to be able to do? How is that different than now? And that's worthwhile or worthy of insight, I would think, too, right?
Well, definitely also that, like, the one thing that we're going to get better at is finding the actual data. And Walt brings up an idea of showing the non-gunners and the liberal gun owners that what the data really says, and having them go to the powers that be and say, hey, this is the actual numbers, and you're saying a bunch of weird shit, and this isn't what he's saying, and this is right, and you're not.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if that's going to work for most. What are you saying? Like people in government, like those kind of representatives?
Well, just if you can, it's that whole, if you can get the people to understand that guns aren't the demon that they've been made out to be, is kind of one of his messages. Well,
I heard what you're saying. That's really what he's spends this whole book so far, is like really laying out why the whole narrative is based on BS. But that's the suck part that we're stuck with. Is that it's literally the entire narrative is based on BS. It's based on old research that was bad research, and it's now what do they call it? It's just now the status quo or whatever. Like now that's I don't know, what is he? There's a word that he keeps saying in there, but now it's like just the perception or whatever. Like now it's the general perception that for example, you don't carry a gun, you don't have a gun around. Like guns are for bad people, only bad people would want a gun. Guns are for harming people. If you want a gun, you must want to harm people.
Yeah. Sorry, my dog. I got a new dog on Saturday, and he's being kind of a pain.
You don't have to be sorry you got a new dog. What kind of chats do you hang out in where they get mad at you for having a new dog?
No, not. I didn't want you to feel like I wasn't responding, but my 70-pound, he's already 70 pounds. He's 7 months old. So he's going to be about 110. He's a Chesapeake Lab next. And he's named Dave. Dave. Chewing all my things. But I already adore him. He's the greatest dog ever. But I look forward to getting the book. Because I'm just what I've learned from Kleck was from either from John Lott citing him, but I'm also excited to take his book and then go through the works cited and find even more people to read about.
Well, so the so it's like you open it, and then I'm thinking there's only the one, because I think there's only the one copy of it. So you're going to open it, and then there's like, I don't know, 6 pages of table of contents or something. It's like a lot of table of contents. And then there's the introduction, which is, I don't remember, 10 pages or 20 pages or something. And then there's like 6 pages of notes and footnotes from the introduction. And then it goes into section 2. So I guess there's no section 1. The introduction is section 1. And then I get done reading section 2, and it was something like 16 pages of footnotes from section 2.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm at page 100 and something, and I've read the introduction and section 2. And then the rest of those 100 pages are footnotes. So
yeah, but I'm a research nerd. I'm going to take every one of those footnotes and look them up.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to love it. And I don't think it's like page 14 of this book. It's like page 14 of this book because blah, 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 blah. I didn't try reading it because it's fucking hard enough to read that guy's writing, but all of that it made no sense at all. I kind of I thought about reading some of them, but I think I do accidentally read some of them sometimes when I don't realize. I think it's a quote or something, and then I'm like, oh, this is some kind of fucking footnote.
Right. And I'm also looking forward to looking up what his published peer-reviewed journal articles are on top of just having a book. So that's my dog and my cat getting along.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's going to be
It's going to take a long time.
That's going to be enough for me reading this guy, only because it's so verbose or whatever, so wordy. I think I'll jump into some of them thinner ones that I got that'll be like one session and it's read type of things.
Right.
And then I'm hoping to get some direction from people, because the other thing is that's the stuff that's in there is interesting, but it's knowledge you need to know, but it isn't like, I don't know, the fun stuff. It isn't like a specific thing.
It's got to be like the people like in this chat, or people that, follow Dudley Gun Show, are the only people that really can do anything with any of that.
Well, you got to read, like, for example, most of what I've read so far to get like the gist of the whole point of that whole book is that the control debate is based on arguments that come from medical research exclusively, and exclusively to the point where they ignore that there is criminal research or societal research. So they won't, because they conflict. So they not only pick the one, type of research that will, or they only pick one type of research, and then they pick from it the stuff that supports their position. But then they do it they present it in such a way that it's presented as the only research and the conclusive research, and it's important to know that. But yeah, you kind of have to. It's not like he just says that, and even if he did just say that, that's not good by itself. You have to then explain why you're able to say that, justify it, right? And because otherwise you're never gonna be able to have a discussion. So yeah, you got to read like whatever I've read, 100 pages just to get some core kind of concepts down in order to be able to ever explain them to somebody else. But do you know where we had this thing about the driver's licenses and guns? Recently?
Yeah.
Where was that?
Sorry, word feedback. Yeah, it was that debate they brought up. The other guy brings up, we use licenses for cars and stuff and like all that. And then he quickly pointed out that, with driver's licenses, you're trying to figure out whether they're, capable of driving a car, and there's a test, but that's not, you don't have to do that with guns, because you don't have to test necessarily everyone.
Oh, well, in the book here, he does a better way. He goes, the driver's licenses are to provide people with a way to drive, and they're not designed so that only military and police, and then a very few people who are deemed okay to drive by the military and police, are okay to drive. Like gun licenses are designed to create an environment where it's so costly and tedious to own a firearm that because of the licensing that you don't want to have a firearm. They're punitive. That's the difference, is that if the licenses were, oh, when you buy the gun it comes with a license, then no one would care. But that's, no one's asking for that, but that's just the the comparison in the book or whatever.
Yeah, they in that debate I watched, he brought up and then I think the one that I walk away from most of his research that I've used many times is how many times that a gun present has saved the good guy, and it's not necessarily anybody shot anybody. He said, like, most of the time there's no shots fired, just the presence of the gun, and the research of that presence of a gun keeps people from being hurt. Presence of a gun isn't necessarily like they have the idea that like a presence of a gun means the bad guy's going to take your gun. That almost never happens. It does happen, but almost never. And there's the 1.5 to 2.4 million good uses of a gun each year. And the other guy was like, well, my research says that when I looked at police reports that there's only maybe 11,000 in a year. And he's like, lots and lots of people pull out a gun when there's a bad guy and never call the cops. Happens all the time.
Yeah, that's not good math. That's not good science. That's not good, position. So I hear you, but I'm not going to be a big champion of that one. We assume because of some research, and if you agree with our research, then you'll agree with us that there's a lot of times when, somebody just shows a gun and then the criminal goes away. That's asking the other side to do way more than they've ever shown they've ever been willing to go. So that's my problem with that, going down that path too far.
Okay, I understand.
But doesn't really matter because that's just one freaking thing. It's not like anything. That's just another tool in the box or whatever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And screwdriver works sometimes. Just because it doesn't work when a wrench is needed doesn't mean it doesn't work when a screwdriver is needed.
Well, it's also really good for us to take the pro 2A arguments and really look at them and see if this is a viable argument that's going to wear the holes in it. Because some of our arguments might have holes too. So that's kind of what, I don't know about you, that's the reason I read the books in the first place and try to figure out where, like, John Lott and Gary Kleck, where do they agree? Because they're both really good researchers. If they agree on a point, it's probably a pretty good point about triangulation of data. All science uses it all the time.
Yeah, at the same time, though, like I say, this is a book that I'm reading, at least. The one is from 2001. So it's talking about, it's took some time to create. So its focus is on the gun control of the 90s and before. So it's basically the gun control, 96, and the assault weapons ban, and the Brady Act, and the NICS, and 86. Right. All that stuff all came around at the same time. This was a book that was then written to compare all of that with everything that had come before it, which we almost never talk about, because not only did we have all that bad stuff happen to us, then we had some good stuff happen since, in the 20-something years since the assault weapons ban has ended, or the almost 20 years since the assault weapons ban has ended. So that's where I look at it, is an insight to, like, a more, like filtered, or a more, like, I don't want to say honest, but like a more, what's the word for recent, back in time, like a more time consistent view of, those things that happened back in the day. But then also, again, like comparing it to what we got now. And like I say, you can dissect the arguments, but I don't know if that's good or bad, because you need to, if it's a good argument, you need to dissect it. If you dissect every argument and it turns out that, let's say 50% of them were worthwhile, then you wasted half your time. If it turns out that 90% of them were worthwhile, then good, you did it right. But if it turns out that none of them are worthwhile, I mean, you spent good time to discover that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if we put all our eggs in that basket, then we would have potentially, we're gambling. So that's why I'm glad we have a lot of people, right? So we don't have to make a decision. We can just keep exploring, and when people find something that's interesting, they take the initiative and do something, add to the mix, and you know, when stuff resonates, ideally it gets amplified, right? Said again, tossed around, like you said.
Yeah, for sure. I look forward to
It's going to be interesting now that I've read his book, because I knew who he was, and I knew where, and that's the reason I picked that book, is because I know that there's waves, and there's the wave that was started with what's her name, and I'm going to read that book at some point too. But I have to go look because I can't remember. I know what she looks like because I draw a cartoon of her. I can't think of her name. Margaret something, I think. Anyway, she's the one that really started the modern self-defense, from what I understand. And this guy, Cates and dude, started the CCW, I think. So, in other words, some of these books, when they come on the scene, they get people all juiced up, and then things happen. Or maybe these are the guys that got everybody juiced up for Heller in, 7 years later.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So that's the part is, first I had to get everything, because I hear little kernels like that, and I can't keep track of it all. So then I built Minuteman to be able to archive it all. And then now that it's in there, when I learn about those little kernels, or I rediscover those little kernels, I go update the place on Minuteman where the notes are, so that eventually the notes all become more and more complete. And then once they're all complete, they start to fill in all the interactions and interconnections and all the rest. So anyway, knowing who this guy was, and knowing that his book was influential, and then reading the book takes me to another level. And now that you said I can go watch this guy talk, yeah, I thought he was dead. So he's obviously not dead, and he's not super old, fragile old, it's like some of our advocates are.
Right.
He's sort of a normal guy. So he's a couple of years older than me, probably. So yeah, definitely going to be interesting, and it'll give me more, what do you call it, like just awareness when I'm reading the thing, right? See how he talks.
I look forward to, like I said, going through the footnotes and seeing who else I can come back and say, hey guys, let's talk about this researcher.
Well, Joyce Lee Malcolm is the other one. The Right to Keep and Bear Arms, The Origins of Anglo-American Right, from 94. I believe she's the one that started the CCW kind of avalanche, or I guess avalanche snowball effect, where all the states started to say, hey, yeah, we should have concealed carry.
That's great.
When you talked about then reading his journals or whatever, besides the books, so that's the problem. Is I remember reading, I don't remember how, I was doing something, and then it was like, here's the first mention of the word assault rifle in public. And I was like, dang, I never thought about that. But there had to be a first time that anyone somewhere in the United States said assault weapon, right? Or assault rifle in National Magazine. So then I found that magazine and I grabbed it, and then started looking around at more stuff like that. And then that's when I found this concept, or some article. I think I found another article that was, I forget what it was. I found a couple of articles that either were from like the 68 or from different time frames that had been referenced in other articles. You know how it happens as you're just reading, or something will get referenced. You'll be like, oh, I'm going to go look at that. And then that references to other things, but it also references back to that first thing. And you're like, okay, now I'm starting to see a correlation here, or whatever that would be called. So that's how I got spun off into figuring out that basically the waves get started, right? And then once something gets started, either people like dig in, like this is awesome, or they get sick of it. So from what I understand, she writes the book, it gets everybody started hot and bothered to start getting CCW. And then that's where a couple of some professor and some rich guy are like, I wonder what would happen if we challenged the Supreme Court with the Second Amendment. That hasn't been done since freaking Miller, old Miller, 38 or whatever.
Right.
And then they're like, sounds good. It was basically a trading places, son of a bitches. Like, okay, give me some Grey Poupon, and yeah, let's fucking sue the Supreme Court. Let's go find a guy. So then they just put a bunch of capitalism out there and found Heller and like 6 other people, and then Heller was the one that worked. And then that's where Heller comes from. So I don't know if one of those books sparked it, or if I'm just making that up, or if I remember, like I say, I think I was reading a PDF one night in the middle of what the kids call a deep dive, and doing some trying to research into something on Minuteman, and that's where I was like, oh dang, like this, because it was one of those sparks where you're like, oh snap, now I get it, because it had all kind of been piling up, and I never really thought about it, and then when I, like I say, was just finally kind of reading an article, and then the article kind of described how, gun control's just been a bunch of different waves, and we basically react all the time. They come after our hunting, they come after our ability to own rifles, they come after our ability to own a handgun, they come after our ability to go places, they come after our ability to buy things, and we just are constantly on the defense, I guess. And that's where somewhere around 75, everybody's like, well, a bunch of people at least were like, we're sick of being on the offense all the time. We need to have at least some intel, and if not, an offense. And that's where you see ILA, GOA, and a Second Amendment Foundation, all the rest start to pop up. And like I say, I can't even remember where all those PDF articles are that alluded to it, but that's when I was like, okay, I got to do something here, because this is all too much to track. This is too much to keep track of, and nobody's written it all down anywhere easy. So anyway, it's kind of cool to go back and start to piece those original pieces back together. Huh?
We appreciate you doing all that. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's an effort. It's not really work, but it's effort. It takes time. But like I say, it'll be interesting now to see this guy. Just watching him. I've been watching him this whole time, not listening, but just watching him up at the thing. Yeah, he's kind of animated. I think I might have seen him now that I'm watching him, but I don't know if it was this, because I seem to remember the debate I heard that seemed really like this was different, because it was some moderator sitting between 2 people and 2 chairs, and this is a guy standing at a podium by himself, and some other guy just got done talking for like, I don't know, 10 minutes before the whole damn thing.
If it's the same one I watched, the other guy is like one of the people that brought you Brady. Like, he worked on that.
But they're both standing at a podium, one after another.
Correct. Yeah, because it's like any debate. There's some rules to it. Like, there's an affirmative and the negative, and you get so long, and then the other one gets so long. They're very polite about it,
Yeah, the one I watched is similar, but I think it's the same guy, but that's why it seems a little different, because he wasn't waving his hands around, because he was sitting down in a chair, and then the moderator was just in the third chair between the 2 of them. But yeah, whenever this is over, I'll probably listen to that.
I had a kind of it's off topic, but it's sort of a gun related topic. So I got a new dog, and he's a big dog, and he likes to pull. So I've always trained dogs to walk to my right, and I have the lead in my left hand, and I've got the part of the lead in my other hand. I'm gonna have to change all that if I'm gonna conceal carry and get anywhere near my firearm if I need it.
So you ever seen that dog whisperer guy?
A little bit.
You know who I'm talking about, though?
Yeah.
I never had. Whenever that guy existed, I already had no TV. Whenever that guy, so I've only seen like him on YouTube, and maybe like somebody had a VHS or something. Like I seem to remember seeing more. Maybe I was at a hotel and they had like a marathon on. So I've seen like 6 or 8 of his shows, and then I don't know. He's not new or nothing. Whenever he was like super popular, other people had talked about him and stuff. And anyway, so that guy has this concept of never letting your dog walk in front of you or walk through a door first or any of that. Basically,
Yeah.
you're the alpha or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I remember from that guy. And I've never let a dog walk in front of me, like when we're walking or whatever. And I mean, knock on wood, I've never had a problem. I mean, I don't have a ton of dogs or nothing. But yeah, as long as I make the dog walk behind me, then they just turn into their pack animals and they go, okay, I'm in back.
Yeah.
They kind of dig it because they don't have to do nothing.
Well, I've already started the heel training. So the trick is you just take little snacks in your little pocket, or I've got a little pouch for it because I don't want dog food all over my pocket. But every about 5 steps, he gets a treat. So then when he's walking, he's not really he's looking where he's going, but he's not sniffing. He's really just watching me. But because eventually I'm going to get him to where right now he's so young, he pulls really hard. And then every time he pulls, I have to stop and put him back where he is. So a 10-minute walk takes a half hour because we walk about 10 steps and then stop, and then 10 steps and stop. But I mean, I train kids, so I'm all about, behaviorism. I can do it. It's just, it dawned on me when I was out there, and my neighborhood isn't the greatest, and I'm right by the little homeless camp down the street. And some guy's like, "Hey man, come here." Of course, I look over at the guy and say, "My dog will bite you. Go away." But I'm like, I probably should rethink this. But I'm thinking about switching to the left
Just
side.
say that you're training a therapy dog, and then people leave you alone.
I'm going to totally train this dog to be a therapy dog because remember, I work at a school with kids with behavior disorders. So eventually I'm going to bring the dog to work.
If you tell people, hey, I'm training them to be it's a him, right? I'm training them to be a therapy dog, most people will calm their jets. They understand, oh, okay, I'm going to leave this guy alone and do this thing.
Yeah. I think even bad guys would be like, oh, never mind.
Well, I mean, maybe not a bad guy, but you know what I mean? Like regular people aren't going to insist.
Yeah, this dude was a little sketchy. But I do like how he's a big dog and he just had one little, the low dog bark, big dogs where they do the roof. And he didn't want nothing to do with this anymore. And the dog's a big goof. He ain't going to bite nobody. My cat's not afraid of him. My cat comes up and whacks him and runs off all the time.
No, only people afraid of big dogs are people that don't own dogs.
Right. But I'm thinking about switching. I've always traditionally made him heel on my right, but now I'm thinking I might heel him on the left.
My dogs don't, well, I don't really call it healing, but they just walk on the whatever side is not the cars. Like if I'm walking on the sidewalk or something, they're on the side that ain't the cars. So
right.
So anyway, they go on both sides. I'll make them go on one side or the other. I don't care if they walk next to me because they don't seem to care. When they're walking next to me, they don't want to lead or nothing. But it does take a little while of basically stopping short and then turning right in front of them a couple of times. And then they figure out oh, I better wait more, take a step or half. They figure out pretty quick.
I've been doing that when he starts pulling, I go the other way. And then,
do you do clicker? You ever done the clicker?
I have. I snap my fingers. That because of some of my teaching, that's one of the ways one of the teaching styles that I do. I'm like, 2 + 2 is, and the kid says 4.
Oh no, hold on. No, you're doing it different than. Have you ever done dog clicker training?
A long time ago. It's been a long time. I trained my ex-wife's service dog. I took a bunch of classes from people that want to do the clicker, and it was valuable.
I don't know if there's different ways. I'm no freaking expert on it, but whenever I got my Doberman, I bought a bunch of books because I worked at a bookstore then. I didn't have to buy them. I just got a bunch of books and or looked at them. Anyway, the clicker thing, the way I used it was let's say you give them something they like a ball or some food or something, or pat them on the head as ideal, because then you're not giving them. I never feed dogs for treats. I just pat them on the head, say good boy or good girl. Every dog likes that way more than a treat, just FYI. And then you don't have to have a treat to get them out from underneath of something or whatever. Like when you don't have a treat, it's always the worst time when you need a treat, you don't got one. Anyway, so you give them something, you're patting them on the head, and then you just click, 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 click. And then you do that for a while when they're babies or when you first get them. Click, 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 click whenever you're eating, or click, click, click when you're patting them on the head. And they just associate the clicking with something that's good, right? That they like. And then when you're stay, and then you walk far away and they haven't walked away, You go click, good girl or good boy, and then that gives them that. The main thing is that the click isn't like because that takes some time for you to do it and for it to travel, where a clicker is just that little piece of like aluminum foil that's bent weird. So
Right.
it's like a taco of aluminum can. So it makes that really sharp, like click really fast. So that's the thing. So like trying to get the Oro to like do all the fancy tricks. Now he was extra smart. So, he had like the brain of a monkey or whatever. I didn't really have to do anything, but the main thing is when they're going to do like 6 things and you're like, oh, I want you to only do the 4th thing. That's where the clicker is awesome. When they're like jumping all over and you're like, oh, do that, like, oh crap, like, oh, you didn't, oh, do that again. That's where a clicker that the dog figures out immediately, like, boom, oh, you wanted me to sit like this. And anyway, so that's, I would read a book because my bullshit explanation is shitty, but
No, yeah, it's coming back.
it works so good for Oro, like so good. I haven't really tried it on her because I don't think she's got a good brain in her head. She's broken or something. She can't hardly figure out her name. But I don't know. Either
No, you're right. It's the speed of it. Yeah, I remember that. I can't click my hands fast enough to do it like that.
Well, that's the thing is I do a version of it where I just do other stuff, like I'll click or whatever, but something with my hand or clap, because it's essentially the same thing. It's just not as good for like when they're wiggling all around. Like she does some stuff where she wiggles, and it'd be great if I could get her to just do like maybe a circle when I want her to or something. And if I really clicker trained her, I'm sure I could get her to do a circle because she's smart enough to figure out. Maybe it's just me being lazy, I guess, more than her being stupid. But she just doesn't seem like Oro would just mimic stuff. Like as soon as I did something and liked it, he would do it again. Like with maybe it's just the
temperament of the dog.
Well, I was going to say,
intelligence, just like
interest in pleasing me. Like she could care less if I'm happy. Like she is happy if I'm happy, but she doesn't care if she makes me happy. Like Oro lived to make Dobermans live to make their people happy.
Right.
Big dogs over the little yapper dogs. I'm thinking good idea to have a couple. I like the little yapper dogs. They can be super good for their, that whole like bravery of a baby dog or little dog is awesome because they can hide underneath a couch or a chair where they know where they live, like under the piano stool or something, and they can bark and bark and bark and bark and bark, and that bad guy doesn't know where that dog is, and that dog knows where to go from there underneath the potted plant thing out the back window and still be barking. You know what I mean? Like they got their advantages. Plus, I don't know, do people with little yapper dogs have mice? Half the time my cat sat around watching mice, I'd be like, I think I'd be better off with a little yapper dog. They might not eat the mouse, right? They might not hunt it, but they'd be annoying and the mouse wouldn't come around because they'd think it was going to get ate, right? A cat, I've literally watched, most of my cats would eat mice and stuff, kill them at least. But I've watched cats just watch mice walk by, like because they're bored and they didn't feel like killing it or whatever. Cats are nuts.
Yeah, my cat was killed immediately.
Maybe I got more mice. And I'm talking tiny mice, not like a big rabbit.
Right.
But anyway, so I'm just saying, I can understand a little yapper dog. However, I don't have any yapper dogs.
Yeah, I'm a big dog guy. I mean, he's going to be my gun dog. That's the ultimate goal is I shoot ducks. He goes and gets them. He brings them back. He lives like a king. I'll buy him his own couch. He doesn't really have to do a lot more to please me. He can just be fuzzy. Maybe bark once in a while and tell me, hey, Dad, there's people outside. I don't need him to do anything. He doesn't be mean or nothing. It's like, hey, there's danger maybe. Okay.
How hard is it to get him to go catch a duck?
Not super hard. That's luckily I've also got all summer, and he's young enough to where he'll be kind of perfect by the time July hits, and I've got nothing but time every day. So
you just give him like a squeaky toy so he learns not to squeak it.
Well, yeah, they make like fake ducks that you just throw in the water. I've got a lake right down the street from my house. You just have to play fence or that.
Rubber ducks that got like a rope going through them. That's what I figured before.
Yeah, chuck it in there and go get it.
But you got to teach them mainly to not squeak it the whole way back.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would think would be the tough part.
Right. Well, and
I
then
grew up with a friend that had some kind of hunting dog that was bad, like it was a blemish, like there was something wrong with it, so it couldn't be a hunting dog. It was fine. It didn't look like there was anything wrong with it. It just didn't like being around noises or something. Like there was some problem with it where it wouldn't be a hunting dog. It was awesome. It was pretty good, but it was a spaz. Like it didn't seem as smart as some other dogs I've had or I've been around.
I was super excited in my backyard yesterday. Got some crows that live in a tree next to my house, and I was super excited to watch the dog notice the crows flying around, because that's a sporting dog. Most dogs don't look up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, most dogs don't really pay attention to birds. I mean, they'll see them in the ground, but they don't look. They don't watch them fly.
I never thought about that, and it's always frustrating to me. I'll be like, "Look at that big ass vulture! Like it's right there. Look at that vulture." And
yeah, your dog's like, "What? It's not
whatever. I don't care. It's a fucking bird." Yeah.
And I've tried to startle him. He doesn't really get startled. He comes running to big noises. He's like, "What was that?" I need to know him. That's a good sign. But you never know.
I didn't even think about it because I grew up with everybody I knew had either hunting dogs or that didn't come up, I guess. But so whenever my first dogs, we'd go hunting and stuff. I never thought about it. My dogs were fine with it, and then I'd find out later that some dogs don't like to be around hunting or be around noises and stuff.
Yeah. Then I'm going to go up in the woods this summer and probably take my dad just to get him out and do the old shoot a shot, pet the dog, shoot a shot, pet the dog. You know, a clicker's a great idea too. That means goodness. The explosions are good. Loud noises are good. Like he'll go crazy on the 4th of July, like, dude, people are shooting stuff. I should get treats and stuff. What are you doing? This is greatest.
Oh yeah, I would think they'd love the 4th of July.
Yeah, they're like, I had an old dog that would just go nuts, and I would just sit there and I would just get his kibble that would normally. I just wouldn't feed him that day, and I'd hand him his kibble the whole time. So here's more. Every time somebody shoots something off, he'd run over me. Hey, I'm like, here's some more.
Oh, that's a good idea. I should try that. She doesn't respond to food at all, though. I don't know what she'd like. I try petting her, but she gets too weird. But yeah, that would be good if you had a dog that was like just medium or not quite made its mind up about noises yet.
Well, and mostly I kind of got him because, you know, a big dog like this, it means Woods has got to get off his fat ass and start walking and exercising. Otherwise, he's going to chew everything I own. So twice a day, I got to get off my ass and start walking. Because let's be honest, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't for him. But it's been pretty good. Like, I'm out there at 5 a.m, walking the damn dog.
Yeah, like that guy's dog, like never sat down. It would fall asleep, but you know, whenever it was awake, it was running around, looking out windows, running around, looking around, doing stuff. Like if you're out in the backyard, it never just sat there. It was running all around.
I got friends that have pheasant hunting dogs that are like that. They just are never quit moving, never at any point in the day.
And it's super skinny. It was something. It looked like a white Weimaraner.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. My buddy's got. He's got a Weimaraner, and it just all the day. He's
kind of like
every day.
What would you say? Like a sort of like a Labrador, but with a head of. I guess it was sort of like a black lab, except white. Not as fat as a black lab, though.
Yeah, this thing's a Chesapeake Bay Retriever and a lab. So it's kind of a cool mix. But labs will take orders, but Chessies you're kind of have to negotiate because they're really strong-willed, which isn't the worst thing ever. You want them to do weird stuff, like say eventually I want to get in my kayak. Well, obviously he's not going to ride in the kayak, but one of the places I would go hunting, he'd have to swim about 40 feet. And then there's a little island, and then there's a little more water, and we go another 40 feet. And there's another island, and we can go another 50 feet. And there's just these little ponds that interconnect. And just have them follow me.
You got to go swimming to go duck hunting?
No, he goes swimming. I go on the kayak.
Oh, okay.
I'm not beyond making him pull me over there. I don't even need to paddle. That's going to be the greatest thing ever. I'm going to film that. I'll win the whole internet.
Did they ever use like a dog sled in water?
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
If you had enough dogs and you had a canoe, they'd be able to pull it. It's interesting. You would think if it worked, though, like they would have done that in the Roman times or something, right?
some people had already thought of that. So you don't think it's a genius idea that they already ever thought of human nature?
Oh no, they would have definitely exploited it back in the olden days when they didn't care. They would have definitely, if there was some critter that it was like a horse, but it had more webbed feet. You know what I mean? Like then they'd be definitely having some sort of boat or water horse thing. I wonder if you put a bunch of porpoises, tied some kind of harness on, like, what would you need? 6 porpoises, maybe?
Well, to be honest with you, with the kayak, one of the things I have is I've got a prop that I bought online, and you hook up like a 20-volt drill to it and just hit go.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I never thought about that.
Yeah, and you just
basically electric motor.
To the side of it, yeah, and like, and then I get out and I have to paddle. I keep my paddle out just so because in kayaking the trick is if you don't ever want to go over, just keep your paddle flat. You ain't going over.
Have you thought about just driving out, near where you're going to go hunting, and then just call an Uber? Be like, I'd like to go out to that island out there.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Uber kayak.
What a big right here. Yeah, see, I've had my new thing with Admix with my ex-wife. I'd make him pull me around when we had like rafts and stuff when we were just playing around, like swimming in a lake. Like he loved it because he was part Newfoundland. He'd swim all day.
Yeah, when I was a little kid, we'd have little dogs. So we had like 3 of them. So I could get 3 of them to pull me around in a pool or something. But you're basically just being pulled by, like anything can pull you when you're in a pool. You're just not resisting, and it's just going to drag you around slowly. But I remember the neighbors, a couple of houses down, had some sort of a Dalmatian and some other bigger dog. And I'll bet you those dogs could definitely pull people, especially in like one of them rafts like you'd float in a pool in.
For sure.
What do dogs do when they're done swimming? Do they float or do they die? Do they just sink?
I think like if they just swam too far.
What?
Like if they swam too far and they just don't have any energy left?
Yeah, I've never ever been with a dog that was like in a pool that got tired. Like if I've ever had a dog in a pool, it was like I was spending all my attention playing with the dog, and as soon as it got tired, I put it out of the pool, right? So I'd never been around a dog that got tired in a pool that was being ignored and had to deal with its own situation. You know what I mean?
I think they sink if they don't keep swimming.
That's what I would think. Like, because they don't got any fat in them, and they probably can't just hold their breath. It's a dog.
Yeah, I think it's like that old that Pixar movie, Just Keep Swimming. They don't do it.
And that's the other thing is I think if I have seen dogs in pools, it's been like where they live at the pool and they just go over to the part where it's shallow and they stand up in it.
And they just walk out. And like,
yeah, they know their pool, so they just don't go in the deep part and die. They know.
Yeah, they do. Hey, I wanted to thank you for putting that patch pan on. I like how the woodsy bear is right in the middle. I'm glad you found it. I'll still send you another one.
Right on. Yeah, I'll put the other one in the band then. Even though we've never met, right?
No.
No, so I got to say there's 4 on there now. 3 people, but 4 patches that are on there that I haven't technically met.
But I think over time, you're really aware that I'm not a robot.
What?
I'm probably not a robot at this point, at least.
Whatever. What the hell would a robot say? I'm a robot. I have tricked you.
You heard me say stupid shit. Robots don't do that.
Robots make intentional errors all the time. That's part of their freaking subroutine, human subroutine. Okay. It's like you've never seen a non-VHS movie have a VHS glitch in it. It's just a freaking filter they can put on.
Well, when you get back to regular America, I'm going to go to that Wanamaker at some point. Now that I'm more of an advisor teacher and now I don't have direct students anymore, I can totally take off time now. before I could.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought you were still a teacher.
Well, I'm the behavior coach now. So if you're a teacher and a kid's giving you a hard time, I'm the one that comes in and helps you figure out how to quit doing that. Whatever you're doing to set the kid off or whatever the problem is. My job is to facilitate the more capacity in the teacher.
Well, Nancy Pelosi keeps giving me a hard time. You go figure out what's wrong with her.
Well, that's not. There's certain cases that I'm just like, you can't do anything. Sorry, you're out of luck. Like, it's a lost cause. She's one of them.
Try click her. Anytime she does like a good piece of some kind of Congress work, you click it. Every time it's bad, you go, no, squirt him in the nose with water or something.
Well, with her, your clicker's going to look brand new.
Yeah, it's never going to get clicked. When she leaves, you click.
Like, you should just click whatever she like leaves, goes out the door to not be anymore.
Yeah.
Just click a bunch.
So she gets much more satisfaction leaving than even going there.
Yeah, you just quit showing up.
All right. Well, we're 2 hours in, and I was working on some projects.
I got to go to bed.
Well. But clicker training Pelosi is a good way to end it. Yeah. So, like I say, we'll be back tomorrow. Is Wednesday, so that'll happen. Anybody else got anything before we head out?
No. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for jumping in. Thanks, DJ. Barbecue was in here. Clover was in here. Robert's out there. Woods playing double duty, as they say. Pants is out there. Pink is out there. And that was all of us. I know. Patriot and Ghost were out there earlier.
I do want to say just for a second, just how solid Pants has been over the years as a fan of the show.
Hell yeah. And that's one of the things. I was going to start the show out. I was thinking about it earlier today. I was like planning to start the show out with like, and I'll say it now when there's like 5 people here because F all them other people. I like having the show in the middle of the night and with titles that repel people and that, you know, keeps us from being invited to any of the reindeer games because F them. I want to have a thing that's good and that isn't just, what's the word?
Genuine?
Well, no, that isn't this, garbage. That isn't just a repeat. But yeah, genuine, but also, I mean, you can be genuinely boring. You know what I mean? You can be genuinely a regurgitation. Like I genuinely insist on saying what I've already heard. So I really appreciate the people that do stick around just so that there's something to do in the evenings that doesn't suck and that isn't just a boring repeat of whatever hell happened during the day or whatever happened they said in the news or whatever. And I'm also not necessarily just trying to do something different just for the sake of doing something different. We're trying to keep people interested and awake, right? And eager to get part of the being aware part of it. I don't know. There was some stuff I wanted to bring up with Clover. Problem with doing it in the middle of the night is the old people that I try to keep out of here fall asleep. So the old ones that I want around fall asleep, right? Like Clover. And it's kind of late now to be doing this anyway, but to get into a real topic. But yeah, there's some topics out there that anyway, does the conversation evolve, or I guess when we were talking about the evolution of 2A also, does it just evolve like naturally, or can it be what's the word, like strategize? Can it be done with intent? Can you have some determination in it? So that's part of the struggle too, is I don't have the blueprint, I don't have the resources and the time all the time, but my interest is in seeing us as a group evolve our conversation, not just for the sake of evolution or just to see a different thing because we're not satisfied with what we had, but to, again, I guess the best way to say it is to not be a mechanism, just so that we can become aware of what we're doing and point for whatever it is we're calling our shot and then make a deliberate swing. We don't have to be, we don't have to hit make a contact, or I don't know those Sparks terms. We don't have to win every time, but it's just getting up and doing something with intent is just, I think, more valuable than being on constant Groundhog's Day and waiting for the next onslaught. Like, why aren't we right now anticipating? We know that they're just waiting for the next atrocity. It bothers me every time we're not sitting around strategizing what we could be doing to strengthen our sides for that. So anyway, appreciate everybody that sticks around for all of our whatever unknown and weird shows. So with that, we'll end it because we just lost somebody just blabbing like that. Our Rangers are all business. They don't do games.
Yeah, for sure. Pink's another one. Solid. They're all the time. They're up there being pink.
Well, reading reindeer games is fine. I don't care. Play reindeer games. I just don't give a shit. So I'd rather I'd pay attention to the reindeers when they're pulling on something, right?
Right.
But we'll keep kicking butt and doing stuff. And like I said, working on something here.
Right. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, we'll be back to pick you up later.
There you go.